She got pregnant by a homeless man, without knowing he was a disguised billionaire. Jessica Collins never imagined her life would completely change on that cold June night when she decided to work overtime at the Community Support Center in Greenwich Village. There was something in the air that made her uneasy, a strange feeling that something important was about to happen. That's when she heard desperate barking coming from the street. Looking out the window, she saw a stray dog running back and forth, howling as if asking for help. Jessica rushed downstairs and found a man passed out on the icy sidewalk, hugging the animal that wouldn't stop licking his face. "My God, he's freezing," she murmured, checking if he was still breathing. His pulse was weak, but he was alive. Jessica looked around. It was almost midnight, and there was no one on the street. The community support center where she worked had strict rules about who could be sheltered, and she wasn't authorized to make that decision alone. But something about that man touched her deeply. He appeared to be around 35 years old, with messy dark hair and unkempt beard. His clothes were dirty, but she noticed they weren't old clothes. There was something different about him, an elegance hidden beneath the careless appearance. "Come on, mister, you can't stay here," she said, shaking him gently. He opened his eyes slowly. They were deep brown eyes that seemed to carry an ancient sadness. Where am I?" His voice was hoarse but polite. "On Broadway Street. You passed out. Do you need medical help?" No, I'm fine. I was just very tired." The dog growled softly when Jessica moved closer. "Is he your dog?" "It's kind of. He adopted me a few weeks ago," he said, trying to sit up. "Sorry for the trouble. I'll be on my way." "Wait. It's too cold to be on the street. I work at the Community Support Center right here. I can arrange a place for you to spend the night." He looked at her with surprise, as if he wasn't used to gestures of kindness. "You don't know me. It's not safe. My name is Jessica, and you clearly need help. What's your name?" He hesitated for a moment. Nathan Williams." Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing, Jessica managed to convince Nathan to accept her help. The community support center was almost empty that night, only a few regular residents sleeping in the bunk beds of the collective dormitory. She took him to a small room where they kept clothing donations. "You can take a shower and change clothes. There's soap and a clean towel in the bathroom," she said, picking out some items that seemed to be his size. "Why are you doing this?" asked Nathan, still suspicious. "Because it's my job and because, well, I don't know, I felt I should help." While he got ready, Jessica prepared a sandwich and hot coffee. The dog sat by the bathroom door like a faithful guardian. When Nathan came out, she barely recognized him. Clean and with proper clothes, he looked completely different. His dark hair, now clean, fell elegantly over his forehead. The trimmed beard revealed a handsome and expressive face. There was something aristocratic in his gestures, in the way he moved. "You look much better," said Jessica, offering him the snack. "Thank you. I don't know how I'll repay your kindness." "You don't need to repay anything, it's just humanity." They talked through the night. Nathan said little about himself, deflecting whenever she asked more personal questions. But he showed knowledge about many subjects, spoke well, and had a refined education that contrasted with his situation. "You've had a different life before, haven't you?" asked Jessica during a moment of silence. "We've all had different lives," he replied evasively, "but you don't seem like someone who was born on the streets. Your way of speaking, your behavior—" Nathan sighed deeply. "Sometimes life puts us in situations we never imagined, and sometimes we need to be where we are for a greater reason." Jessica sensed there was much more behind those words, but didn't press further. There was a deep pain in his eyes, a weight she recognized because she worked with people who carried trauma. "You can stay here for a few days until you get back on your feet," she offered. "I don't want to cause problems for you at work. Let me worry about that." In the following days, Nathan became a constant presence at the center. Officially, he was registered as a temporary resident, but in practice, he helped Jessica with everything. He had an incredible ability to calm the most agitated residents, especially the elderly suffering from mental confusion. Miss Martha, a 70-year-old woman who had lived at the center for 2 years and used to be aggressive with everyone, completely transformed in Nathan's presence. She called him my grandson and would only take her medicine if he was nearby. "How do you do that?" asked Jessica, watching Nathan talk patiently with the elderly woman. "My grandmother had Alzheimer's. I learned that patience and affection work miracles." It was the first time he mentioned family, and Jessica noticed a shadow of sadness cross his face. Mike, a homeless man who struggled with alcohol and often caused trouble, also changed his behavior around Nathan. One afternoon, Jessica found the two talking seriously in the small garden behind the building. "He told me some things that made sense," Mike commented later. "That guy isn't ordinary, Jessica. There's something special about him." "What did he say?" "He talked about forgiveness, about how sometimes we punish ourselves more than we deserve, said he knows that pain firsthand." At night, when the center grew quieter, Jessica and Nathan would talk for hours. She spoke about her work, about how she'd chosen social services after losing her parents in an accident when she was 20. He listened with complete attention, asking thoughtful questions and offering perspectives that surprised her. "Have you ever thought about working in social project management?" he asked one evening. "You have a very clear vision of how to optimize resources and impact more lives." "How do you know about project management?" "I've read a lot about it at the public library. I have plenty of time," he replied. But Jessica sensed there was more to his answer. 2 weeks later, something happened that completely changed the dynamic between them. A serious fight was about to break out in the men's dormitory. 2 men, both with histories of violence, were confronting each other over a blanket. The situation escalated quickly, and other residents began taking sides. Jessica was alone on duty and didn't know how to intervene. That's when Nathan appeared. "John, Sam, stop this," he said in a firm but calm voice. "Stay out of this, Nate," shouted John, a 40-year-old man with multiple arrests. "You're both smart men. You know this will cause problems for everyone here," Nathan continued, positioning himself between them. "And Jessica will face the consequences." Something in how he spoke made both men pause. There was a natural authority in his voice, as if he were accustomed to resolving conflicts. "Sam, you can keep the blanket. John, I'll ask Jessica to set aside another one for you tomorrow, and if you both want to talk about what's really bothering you, I'm here." The fight dissolved instantly. Later, Jessica found Nathan in the garden, watching the stars. "How did you do that?" she asked, sitting beside him. "Experience," he answered simply. "What kind of experience?" Nathan was silent for a long moment. "I've been in positions where I had to mediate conflicts. I've seen how violence only breeds more violence. Nathan, I feel like you're not telling me the whole truth about who you are." He turned to look her directly in the eyes. "What if I said I can't tell you? That it would be dangerous for you to know?" "Dangerous how?" "There are people looking for me, people who aren't good. If they find out where I am, they could hurt those around me." Jessica felt her heart race, not from fear, but from a strange excitement. There was mystery in Nathan, but also a genuine kindness she felt in his every gesture. "Are you in some kind of trouble?" "I'm trying to resolve something very complicated, something that happened 2 years ago that completely changed my life. Can I help in some way?" Nathan smiled for the first time since she'd met him, a sad smile, but genuine. "You're already helping more than you know. This place, these people, you, are giving me hope that there are still good things in the world." It was that night that Jessica realized she was falling in love with Nathan. Not just because of his appearance, which was undeniably attractive, but because of the person he was, because of the gentle way he treated everyone at the center, the wisdom he showed, the quiet strength he emanated. The following week, Nathan began to implement small changes at the center that made a huge difference. He organized a rotation system for chores that eliminated several conflicts. He created conversation groups where residents could talk about their problems without judgment. He managed to convince some local merchants to donate food that was about to expire. "Where did you get these ideas?" asked Jessica, impressed with the results. "Observation and common sense," he replied, "and some things I learned before." "Before what?" "Before my life completely changed." Jessica was growing more and more curious about Nathan's past, but at the same time, she was falling in love with the man he was there, in that moment, regardless of who he had been before. A month after meeting him, on an especially cold night, they were organizing donations in the storage room when it started to rain heavily. The sound of the rain on the tin roof created an intimate and cozy atmosphere. "Jessica," Nathan said suddenly, "I need to tell you something." She stopped folding clothes and looked at him. "I'm falling in love with you," he said with a disarming honesty. "And I know this is complicated because I can't offer anything beyond who I am right now. I can't promise a future, I can't—" Jessica didn't let him finish. She moved closer to him and kissed him softly. "I'm falling in love with you too," she whispered. "And I don't care about your past or your future. I care about who you are now." The kiss deepened, filled with weeks of tension and repressed feelings. When they separated, Nathan held her against his chest. "You don't understand. I can't—" "Then explain it to me," she said, looking into his eyes. "Trust me." Nathan took a deep breath. 2 years ago, I lost everything. Family, money, social standing. And it was my fault. Because of something terrible I did. "What did you do?" "I can't tell you the details. But I can say it was something that resulted in irreversible consequences for innocent people." Jessica saw the genuine pain in his eyes and understood that whatever the secret was, he was suffering because of it. "Do you regret it?" "Every day. And that's why I'm here. Trying. I don't know, to find a way to make peace with myself. And are you succeeding?" "Since I met you, yes. You make me believe I can still be a good person." They spent the night talking, embraced among the piles of donated clothes. Nathan shared about his childhood, about the grandmother who raised him after his parents separated, about how he always felt responsible for taking care of other people. Jessica spoke about her fears, about how she sometimes felt overwhelmed with work, about her dream of opening a larger center that could help more families. From that night onward, they became inseparable. During the day, they maintained professionalism at work, but at night, when the center grew quiet, they found moments to be together. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out, now continuing. 2 months passed in a happiness Jessica had never experienced before. Nathan became not only her partner, but her best friend and confidant. He helped with the most difficult cases at the center, always with endless patience and creative ideas to solve problems. It was then that Jessica began feeling persistent morning sickness. Initially, she attributed it to work stress, but when the symptom persisted for a week, she decided to take a pregnancy test. The positive result left her in shock. She was pregnant with Nathan's child. She spent the entire day trying to decide how to tell him. She feared his reaction, especially considering he always said he couldn't promise a future. But there was something in how he looked at her, in how he cared for her, that gave her hope. That night, after all the residents had retired, she found him in the garden, sitting on the wooden bench he had built himself. "Nathan, I need to talk to you about something important." He noticed the seriousness in her voice and turned completely toward her. "Did something happen?" "I'm pregnant," she said directly, watching his reaction. For a moment, Nathan remained completely still. Then his eyes filled with tears. "Pregnant? Are you sure?" "I took the test today. Positive." Nathan stood up and hugged her with a strength that surprised her. "My God, Jessica, I don't know what to say." "Are you happy?" she asked, uncertain. "Happy? He paused, as if searching for the right words. "I'm scared and happy and terrified and it's the best news I've received in years." They cried together, embraced in the small garden. Nathan talked about how he had always dreamed of being a father, but never considered himself worthy of it. Jessica spoke about her fears of raising a child alone and how his reaction reassured her. "I'll take care of both of you," said Nathan, placing his hand on Jessica's still flat stomach. "Both? I'm sure it's a girl, and she'll be just like her mother, strong, brave, and with a huge heart." That night they made plans. Nathan talked about finding a formal job, about renting a place to live together. For the first time since she had met him, Jessica saw him talking about the future with hope. "Tomorrow I'll go out to look for work," he said. "I have some connections that might help me." "What kind of connections?" "People I knew before. Who might be willing to give me a second chance." Jessica didn't press for details. She was too happy to worry about mysteries from the past. The next morning, Nathan left early. He kissed Jessica and said he would return by the end of the day with good news. She spent the day floating on a cloud of happiness, telling a few co-workers about the pregnancy and receiving congratulations and advice. But Nathan didn't return that day, nor the next. On the third day, Jessica found a letter on her desk at work. She immediately recognized Nathan's careful handwriting. "My dearest Jessica, forgive me for leaving without saying goodbye in person. I know you won't understand now, but it was the only way. The news of the pregnancy filled me with a joy I haven't felt in years. But it also made me realize I can no longer run from my past. I cannot let you and our baby be harmed by the consequences of my mistakes. I need to resolve some pending matters before I can be with you. It may take time, but I promise I will return. And when I come back, it will be forever." Inside the envelope, you'll find an address and a phone number. If you need anything, any emergency, get in touch. The person who answers will know how to find me. Take care of yourself and our baby. You are the most important thing in my life. With all my love, Nathan P.S. Thunder, the dog, is with Mr. John. He'll take good care of him until I return. Jessica read the letter 3 times before she could accept that Nathan had really left. At first, she felt anger. How could he abandon her just when she discovered the pregnancy? Then came the pain, a deep pain that seemed to eat away at everything inside. In the following days, she tried to maintain a normal routine at the community support center, but everyone noticed her sadness. Ms. Martha, who had grown so fond of Nathan, asked about him every day. "Where is my grandson, dear? He promised he would teach me how to make that carrot cake." Jessica didn't know what to say. How could she explain that Nathan had left without giving any explanations? 2 weeks after his disappearance, the center's director, Ms. Victoria, called her into her office. "Jessica, we need to talk about your situation." "My situation?" "The pregnancy, and your relationship with one of the residents." Jessica felt her stomach drop. There were strict rules about relationships between staff and those under their care. "Ms. Victoria, I can explain." "There isn't much to explain. You violated the institution's code of ethics. That is grounds for termination with cause. But I love my work here. These people depend on me. You should have thought of that before. I'm sorry, Jessica, but you are dismissed. You have 1 week to transfer your cases to another social worker." The dismissal was the final blow. Jessica found herself pregnant, alone, and unemployed. Her rented apartment was too expensive to keep without a salary, and her savings were meager. She had no choice but to accept her older sister Sarah's offer to temporarily live in her house in the Queens neighborhood. Sarah was married to a civil servant and had 2 teenage children. She had always been critical of Jessica's life choices, considering social work a profession for those without ambition. The arrival of her pregnant and unemployed sister was seen as confirmation of her theories. "I told you that work with homeless people wouldn't work out," Sarah said in the first week. "Now look at the situation. Pregnant by a homeless man who disappeared off the face of the earth." "Nathan wasn't a common homeless person, Sarah. Oh, of course. He was a prince in disguise, right? Jessica, you've always been such a dreamer. Time to wake up to reality." Living together in Sarah's house was tense. Jessica slept on the living room sofa and had to follow strict rules about schedules and behavior. Her nephews treated her with a mixture of pity and contempt, influenced by their parents' comments. During her 4th month of pregnancy, Jessica managed to get some freelance social consulting work, but the money barely covered her basic needs. It was then that something unexpected happened. An elegant man in an expensive suit with an aristocratic bearing appeared at Sarah's door asking for her. He was about 60, with graying hair and a presence that commanded respect. "Jessica Collins," he asked politely. "That's me. How can I help you?" "My name is Dr. Edward Anderson. I'm a lawyer. I have something for you." He handed her a thick envelope. "What is this?" A client of mine asked me to deliver it. It's $50,000 for your medical and living expenses during the pregnancy. Jessica was speechless. 50,000? But who? I cannot reveal the client's identity. I can only say that he is very concerned about your well-being and the babies. Is it Nathan? Did he send this? The lawyer hesitated for a moment. I can neither confirm nor deny, but I can say that you and your child are very important to my client. I can't accept this money, not without knowing where it's coming from. Ma'am, with all due respect, you are pregnant and in a difficult situation. This money can ensure you have the best medical care and proper conditions for your pregnancy. Sarah, who had been listening from the kitchen, appeared in the living room. Of course she'll accept it. $50,000. Jessica, have you lost your mind? Sarah, please, said Jessica, embarrassed. Madame, Dr. Edward addressed Sarah, this is a decision only your sister can make. Jessica looked at the envelope. $50,000 would solve all her immediate problems. She could rent a small apartment, get proper prenatal care, prepare for the baby's arrival, but something bothered her. If I don't accept now, will the offer still stand? She asked. Yes. My client instructed me to insist as many times as necessary. He wants to make sure you are well taken care of. Then I need to think. Can you give me some time? Naturally. Here is my card. You can call me when you've made a decision. After the lawyer left, Sarah exploded. You're crazy, Jessica. $50,000. Do you know what you could do with that money? I can't accept money without knowing where it's from. What if it's dirty money? What if it's some kind of trap? A trap? Who would want to set a trap for you? You're nobody important. Sarah's words stung, but Jessica held her ground. There was something about the whole situation that didn't feel right. 2 weeks later, as she was leaving the health clinic where she had her prenatal appointment, Jessica felt a strong dizziness. An elegant woman passing by on the sidewalk steadied her. Are you all right, dear? Asked the woman, with a refined and concerned voice. Just a dizzy spell. Must be the pregnancy. The woman helped her sit on a nearby bench. She was about 55, with well-kept blonde hair and expensive clothes, but there was genuine concern in her eyes. How many months pregnant are you? 5 months. Is this your first child? Yes, answered Jessica, not knowing why she was talking to a stranger. How exciting! You must be very happy. Jessica couldn't hide the sadness she felt at the comment. I should be, but the father... It's complicated. The woman observed her more closely. Sorry for the indiscretion, but are you Jessica Collins? Jessica was startled. How do you know my name? Well, it's a long story. May I invite you for a coffee? There's something I need to tell you. Against her better judgment, Jessica accepted. There was something about the woman that put her at ease, a sincerity she recognized. At the corner coffee shop, the woman introduced herself. My name is Victoria Montgomery, and I know Nathan. Jessica's heart raced. Do you know where he is? I do, and I know why he left. Then please tell me. I'm going crazy, not knowing what happened. Victoria took a deep breath. Nathan is my son. Jessica almost dropped her coffee cup. Your son? But he doesn't use my last name for complicated reasons. Jessica, my son is not who you think he is. I don't understand. Nathan is the heir to one of the largest fortunes in the country. Our family owns a hotel chain, construction companies, investments. He was supposed to be running our businesses, but 2 years ago he disappeared. Disappeared? There was an incident, a terrible accident involving our business. Nathan blamed himself and decided he no longer deserved the life he had. He left home, renounced everything, and has been living on the streets ever since. Jessica felt as if the world was spinning around her. But why are you telling me this? Because I know you're pregnant with his child, and I know he loves you more than he has ever loved anything in his life. How do you know about the pregnancy? Nathan came to me the day you found out. He was desperate, happy, and terrified all at once. He said he had found the woman of his life, but that he couldn't be with her until he resolved the problems from his past. What problems? Victoria hesitated. 2 years ago, a building our company was constructing collapsed during a storm. 3 people were seriously injured. Nathan, who was supervising the construction, blamed himself for what happened. It was actually an accident, a combination of extreme weather factors and a defect in the material supplied by a third party. But Nathan can't forgive himself. And where is he now? Working. He decided he would only come back to you when he could prove he deserves to be a father. He's working on social projects in other cities, using part of the inheritance he's still entitled to help underprivileged communities. Jessica didn't know what to feel. Anger that Nathan hadn't trusted her with the truth, relief to know he was okay, confusion upon discovering she had fallen in love with a millionaire. The money the lawyer offered, it was from him. He wants to make sure you're well taken care of. But I didn't accept it, Victoria smiled. He said you wouldn't accept it. He said you're too proud to accept money without an explanation. That's why he asked me to find you and tell you part of the truth. Part of the truth? There are things only he can tell you, can. But I can assure you that my son loves you deeply, and that he will come back. When? I don't know. He is determined to make peace with the past before building a future. Jessica spent the rest of the afternoon processing the information. Nathan was rich. Very rich. But he had abandoned everything out of guilt and was living a life of penance. That night, at Sarah's house, she decided to call Dr. Edward and accept the money. If Nathan wanted to help her, she would accept, but with conditions. Dr. Edward, this is Jessica Collins. I want to accept the offer, but I need it to be done as a loan. I will pay back every penny when I'm working again. Ma'am, my client does not expect repayment. But I insist, I don't want charity, I want temporary help. I will communicate your decision to my client. I'm sure he will be happy to know you are accepting care. With the money, Jessica rented a small but comfortable apartment in the neighborhood of Queens. She got private prenatal care and began preparing for the baby's arrival. She also used part of the money to take online courses in social project management, thinking about opening her own consultancy in the future. During the 6th month of pregnancy, she was watching television when she saw something that made her choke on the juice she was drinking. Dear listener, if you are enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we are just starting out. Now continuing. On the screen, a business segment showed a picture of Nathan at a business meeting, but it wasn't the Nathan she had met at the community support center. It was a man in a suit with well-groomed hair at a luxurious meeting table. The caption read, "Nathan Montgomery, heir to the Montgomery Group, reappears after a 2-year absence." Jessica turned up the volume on the television, astonished. Young businessman Nathan Montgomery, 35, son of businesswoman Victoria Montgomery, has reappeared publicly after a 2-year absence from the family business. Nathan had stepped away following the accident at the construction site of the Mountain Gardens development, which resulted in serious injuries to 3 workers. Sources close to the family confirm that he has been working on social projects in the countryside during this period and is now gradually returning to the family business activities. Jessica turned off the television, feeling a mix of emotions. Seeing Nathan like that, so different from the simple man she had known, made her question everything. Who was the man she had really fallen in love with? The humble Nathan from the community support center or the millionaire businessman on television? The following week, she was leaving the supermarket when she was approached by a young, elegant woman in her 30s. "Are you Jessica Collins?" asked the woman, with a tone that mixed curiosity and hostility. "I am. Can I help you with something?" "My name is Fiona Sullivan. I'm Nathan's fiancée." Jessica's world collapsed. "Fiancé? Well, ex-fiancé technically, but we're getting married when this whole phase of his passes." "What phase?" "This playing poor thing. Nathan has always been very idealistic, but he'll come back to his senses when he realizes he can't run away from his responsibilities forever." Jessica felt nauseous, but didn't know if it was from the pregnancy or the shock. "He told me he's single." "Jessica, may I call you that? Nathan is going through a crisis. The construction accident really shook him, But he knows his place is with me, with his family, with his social class. This adventure with you was just an escape. Adventure? Please don't fool yourself. Do you really think a man like Nathan Montgomery would leave a $300 million inheritance to be with a social worker? Jessica felt as if she were being stabbed with every word. He never told me about any fiancé. Because he didn't want to complicate things. But now that he's back in business, it's time for him to take on his real responsibilities. What about the baby? Fiona looked at Jessica's belly with disdain. Well, that is really inconvenient. But we can arrange a generous child support. You'll never have to work again. Are you offering me money to disappear? I'm offering a solution that benefits everyone. You get rich, Nathan returns to real life, and the baby grows up with financial security. Jessica stepped back, feeling disgusted. I don't want your money, and I don't believe Nathan would agree with this. Nathan doesn't even know I'm here. I'm trying to spare everyone an embarrassing situation. Stay away from me, said Jessica, moving away. Think about the offer, Jessica. $200,000. It's more money than you'd see in your entire life. Jessica walked away without responding, but Fiona's words echoed in her mind for days. $200,000 was an absurd amount. It would be enough to raise the baby comfortably, maybe even start her own business. But the idea of selling Nathan and the child they were expecting made her physically sick. During the 7th month of pregnancy, she decided to try to contact Nathan directly. She called Dr. Edward and asked to speak with him. I'm sorry, ma'am, but my client has given specific instructions not to take calls. He is focused on resolving important matters and doesn't want any distractions. Distractions? I'm pregnant with his child. He is aware of that, and that's why he wants to settle everything quickly so he can return to you. But I need to speak with him about something important. His ex-fiancée approached me and... Ex-fiancée? Fiona Sullivan. She said you're getting married when he returns to normal. There was a long silence on the other end of the line. Ms. Jessica, I will convey your message to my client. But I can tell you now that there is no fiancé or ex-fiancé in his life. Miss Sullivan was an acquaintance from the past, but there was never an engagement. She said that Miss Sullivan has been creating stories for the press for 2 years. My client has no involvement with her. Jessica felt relieved but still confused. So why doesn't he contact me? Because he knows my client. He believes he doesn't deserve happiness until he makes up for past mistakes. It's a form of self-punishment that, well, it's typical of his personality. In her 8th month of pregnancy, Jessica was at home when she felt the first contractions. It was too early, but the pains were intense and regular. Sarah rushed her to the hospital. She's in premature labor, said the doctor. We'll try to delay it, but if we can't, we have to deliver now. Jessica was terrified and alone. She called Victoria Montgomery, who arrived at the hospital in 20 minutes. How did you know? Asked Jessica. Dr. Edward called me. He has orders to inform me about any emergency involving you. Victoria stayed by Jessica's side throughout the entire process. The contractions were controlled with medication, and the baby decided to wait a few more weeks. She'll be born when she's ready, said Victoria, holding Jessica's hand. How do you know it's a girl? Nathan always said it would be. He has a feeling about these things. Victoria, can I ask you a personal question? Of course. Why does Nathan blame himself so much for the accident? You said it was a tragedy. Victoria sighed. Because Nathan always felt responsible for everyone around him. When our family dog passed away when he was 10, he cried for weeks thinking he should have noticed the animal was sick. When his father died of a heart attack at 48, Nathan blamed himself for not insisting more on him getting medical checkups. Was he always like this? Always. It's what makes him a wonderful person, but also what makes him vulnerable to this kind of self-flagellation. And in the construction site accident? Victoria hesitated. There was a storm forecast. Nathan wanted to stop the work as a precaution, but the contractor insisted it was just a quick rain. Nathan gave in to the pressure. When the storm was stronger than predicted and part of the structure collapsed, he took all the blame. But it wasn't his fault. No, it was a combination of factors nobody could have predicted. But Nathan can't see it that way. That night, alone in the hospital, Jessica made a decision. She picked up her phone and called Dr. Edward. "Doctor, Edward, you need to deliver a message to Nathan. Tell him if he doesn't show up for his daughter's birth, I will raise this child as if she had no father. Tell him I understand his issues with the past, but our baby needs a present father, not a perfect hero. Ma'am, I will deliver. And tell him one more thing. Tell him I love him, the Nathan I met at the community support center, with no money, no important last name. That man who taught me that kindness is worth more than any fortune. If he wants to be that man again, I'll be waiting. If he wants to be the businessman tormented by the past, then he can be happy, but without me, and without our daughter." 2 weeks later, Jessica was at home when she received a strange call. "Hello, is this Jessica Collins?" asked a young woman's voice. "Yes. My name is Kathy. I work as a nurse at Mercy General Hospital. There's a man here who gave your name as his emergency contact." "What do you mean?" "He got hurt in a scuffle on the street. Nothing serious, but he needs someone to pick him up. He said his name is Nathan Williams." Jessica's heart raced. "I'll be there in 15 minutes. At the hospital, she found Nathan sitting on a gurney with a cut on his forehead and scrapes on his arm. When he saw her, his eyes filled with tears. "Jessica." "What happened?" she asked, examining his injuries. "I tried to help an elderly man who was being mugged. It was nothing major. He was wearing simple clothes again, hadn't shaved, and looked thinner. Have you gone back to living on the streets?" "Temporarily. I was trying to figure some things out." Jessica felt a strong contraction and held her belly. "Jessica, what is it?" I think it's time." Her water had broken. The delivery was quick and intense. Nathan stayed by Jessica's side the whole time, holding her hand, whispering words of encouragement, tearing up when she screamed in pain. "She's almost here, my love." "You are the strongest woman I know," he said. "Don't leave me again," she pleaded during a particularly intense contraction. "Never again, I promise." At 3 in the morning, Sophie Collins Williams was born, a small but healthy baby with her father's dark eyes and her mother's face shape. When the nurse placed Sophie in Nathan's arms, he broke down in sobs. "She's perfect," he whispered. "She's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen." "Would you like to hold her?" asked the nurse. "May I?" Nathan held his daughter with infinite gentleness, as if she were made of crystal. "Hi, Sophie. I'm your daddy. I'm sorry it took me so long to get here." Jessica watched the scene with tears in her eyes. That was the Nathan she had known and loved. The money or the complicated past didn't matter. What mattered was the man who was there, melting with love for his daughter. "Nathan," she said softly, "we need to talk about a lot of things. I know, and I will tell you everything. Every detail, every secret. You deserve to know the full truth. And what about your work, your family, your responsibilities?" Nathan looked at Sophie and then at Jessica. "My only responsibility now is the two of you. We'll figure out the rest together." In the early morning hours in the hospital room, Nathan told Jessica the whole truth. About the family fortune, about the accident that haunted him, about how meeting her had changed his perspective on life. "I spent 2 years trying to punish myself for something I couldn't control," he said. "But meeting you taught me that I can use my position to do real good, not just to make myself feel better." "And Fiona?" "She was never my fiancée. Our parents tried to arrange an engagement when we were younger, but there was never any real feeling between us. She has a hard time accepting that. She offered me $200,000 to disappear." Nathan was furious. "She did what?" "She said you would go back to your social class and that I was just a fling." "Jessica, look into my eyes. You and Sophie are my family. No matter how many millions I have in the bank, you are my true wealth." They talked until dawn. Nathan spoke about his plans. He wanted to use part of the inheritance to create a foundation that would offer microcredit to people in vulnerable social situations. He wanted to transform the old community support center where they met into a national model for social reintegration. "And I want to do all of this with you by my side," he said, "if you'll have me." Jessica looked at Sophie, who was sleeping peacefully between them. "I will, but on one condition." "What?" "No more hiding secrets. If we're going to be a family, we have to trust each other completely." "I promise." The next morning, Victoria arrived at the hospital with gifts for her granddaughter. When she saw Nathan there, she hugged her son with tears in her eyes. "You've finally come to your senses," she said, taking Sophie into her arms. "Hello, my beautiful girl. I'm your grandmother, Victoria." "Mom, I want you to officially meet Jessica, the woman who taught me that I deserve to be happy." Victoria hugged Jessica warmly. "Thank you for saving my son." In the following days, Jessica's life changed completely. Nathan took her to see the family mansion in Beverly Hills, where she initially felt out of place, but Victoria made a point of making her feel at home. "This house is too big for just one person," Victoria said. "I would be very happy if you lived here with me, at least until Sophie is older." Jessica hesitated. It was so different from everything she knew. "I don't know if I could adapt to this life." "Nathan told me about your social projects," said Victoria. "How about we turn the annex of the house into an office for your foundation? That way you can work from home and take care of Sophie at the same time." The idea was perfect. Jessica accepted but insisted on contributing to the household expenses with her own work. A month later, something happened that tested the couple's newfound stability. Fiona showed up at the mansion, furious. "Victoria, this is ridiculous," she shouted in the living room. "Nathan is throwing his life away because of some... "Be careful what you say," said Nathan, entering the room with Sophie in his arms. "An adventure. That's what it is. You have responsibilities to our family, to our business." "Fiona, there was never an us," Nathan said calmly, "and my family is here." "Family? That woman isn't even from your social circle." Jessica, who was nursing Sophie in another room, heard the argument and decided to intervene. "Fiona, isn't it?" she said, entering the room. "I think we should talk." "We have nothing to talk about." "Yes, we do. You offered me money to disappear. Now I want to make you a proposal." Nathan and Victoria looked surprised. "What proposal?" "You're clearly interested in the Montgomery family's money. How about investing that interest in something productive? We're creating a microcredit foundation. It needs someone with knowledge of the financial market." "Are you offering me a job?" "I'm offering you an opportunity to use your privileged education to do something that really matters. You can be a minority partner in the foundation." Fiona was speechless. "Think about it," Jessica continued. "You can keep fighting for a man who never loved you, or you can build something of your own and meaningful." 2 weeks later, surprisingly, Fiona accepted the proposal. She discovered she enjoyed working on social projects and, over time, developed a respectful friendship with Jessica. "I never thought I'd say this," Fiona confessed months later, "but you taught me there's life beyond marrying a rich man." The foundation grew quickly. Within 6 months, it had already approved over 100 microloans for people who wanted to open small businesses. The old community support center was renovated and became the project's national headquarters. Nathan split his time between managing the family business and working at the foundation. He discovered he could be a responsible businessman without giving up his values. When Sophie turned 1, Nathan proposed to Jessica again, this time officially. "The first time I was a man without an identity," he said, kneeling in the mansion's garden where they had a picnic. "Now I know who I am. I'm the man you taught to deserve love. Will you marry me?" The wedding was simple in the mansion's chapel, with the residents of the old community support center as special guests. Miss Martha was the matron of honor, carrying Sophie during the ceremony. "My grandson finally married the right woman," she said, emotional. During the party, Mr. John, the resident who had taken care of Thunder, Nathan's dog, approached the couple. "Nathan, there's something I never told you about Thunder." "What is it, Mr. John?" "That dog. He wasn't just any dog. He was the same stray that Jessica saved when she was 17, on the day she lost her parents." Nathan and Jessica looked at each other, confused. "What do you mean?" "Mr. John, that's not possible," said Jessica. "My parents passed away 15 years ago." "It is possible. Remember you said you saved an injured dog on the day of the accident, that you took him to the vet and then couldn't keep him because you had to live with relatives. Jessica vaguely remembered. I remember. But I worked at that vet. I took the dog when you couldn't adopt him. Thunder lived with me for 12 years until he got very old. But he was always special, always looking for a brown-haired lady who smelled just like you. Nathan got chills. Are you saying that? I'm saying that destiny works in mysterious ways. Thunder led me to where you two met, because he remembered her. He wanted to return the kindness she showed him years ago. Jessica began to cry. So you were looking for me for 15 years without knowing? Actually, said Nathan, pulling her into a hug, I think we were both looking for each other our whole lives. End of story. And now, dear listener, tell me, what did you think of this love story that started on the street and ended in a fairy tale? Do you believe that destiny sometimes puts us exactly where we need to be? Leave your opinion in the comments. Don't forget to give your like to support our channel. And most importantly, subscribe so you don't miss other heartwarming stories like this one.